Watch and learn how we create a beautiful raised panel door using the MLCS mitered door frame bit. This versatile carbide tipped router bit allows you to create dramatic rail-in style doors, picture or mirror frames, chair rails, crown moldings, or other decorative trim. We add an auxiliary fence to our existing fence to add some thickness so that our carbide won't hit the dust collection port in the back of the fence. Using two standard feather boards, we create a jig called a vertical feather board. This will allow us to hold a tall piece of wood up against the router fence real easy. Two standard feather boards, extra long bolts, and a couple knobs to hold them down, all mounted to a board so you can clamp it tight. Now we begin to cut our molding profile. We always do this in 2 to 3 passes to ensure a really smooth finished cut. As you can see, we left our board about an inch wider than the actual carbide cutting profile. This way, when we get down to making our final pass, the extra wood will run right along the ball bearing for us. We will trim this off on the table saw shortly. Set the distance from your table saw fence to your saw blade to 2.5 inches. This will allow you to perfectly remove the excess wood. Once the molding profile is cut to size, we then set up to run the 1/4 inch slot through all the lengths of the molding. This is much easier to do before you actually make the miter cuts for the corners. Use the ball bearing guide on your router bit to set your fence. You will be cutting this slot at full depth. To ensure a smooth, even cut, we set up 2 large feather boards to hold this board in place as we make the cut. One to hold it down and one to hold it against the fence. This also creates a very safe environment, allowing you to keep your fingers far away from the router bit. This 1/4 inch slot you are making will eventually hold the raised panel in your raised panel door. Cut this slot down all the lengths of your stock in preparation to cut your mitered corners. Here we use a shop-made miter jig for our table saw. This jig allows you to hold the stock at an exact 45 degrees to the saw blade. This can also be done on a miter or chop saw. Carefully measure, then cut each corner of the frame of your door. Now take the time to do a dry fit of the frame. Put all 4 corners together and make sure they fit nice and tight before moving on. Now you are ready to cut the biscuit slots in each mitered corner. This will make a really strong joint. Set the height of your 5/32 slot cutter so you are centered on your stock. A great tip for this procedure is to mark the left and right edge of your cutter so you know exactly where it's going to be. Take a piece of tape and set it above the thickness of your stock on your fence. Then mark the left and right edge of your carbide tipped cutter. Following these marks will keep you from accidentally running the cutter out of the edge of your stock and ruining a board. Just use your eye to keep these marks centered on your stock, and you won't have to worry about running out of either end of your board. Because this router bit is specially designed for use with number 11 round biscuits, all you need to do is make one full plunge depth of cut and you are set to insert your biscuits. Now go ahead and make this cut on the inside of every mitered corner. Now that your door frame is ready for assembly, you can focus on making the raised panel. When making a raised panel, there are a few rules to follow. The first is always make your raised panel in 2 to 3 passes before reaching the full profile depth. This will allow each cut to be much smoother and your final cut to be a true, very smooth finished cut. The second rule is always make your cuts across the grain first. You are most likely to get tear out during this procedure, so if you come back following the grain on the second pass, you could clean up any tear out that occurs. To add a really nice detail to this door, we do one shallow pass with the cove raised panel bit on the back side of the door, so you will see the detail when you open the door on the inside. Then we go ahead and cut the front of the panel to full depth. Again, always cut across the grain first and then cut along with the grain to clean up any tear out that may occur. Your final pass on the router bit should be a shallow, smooth, finished pass. And the thickness of the edge remaining should be just a hair under 1/4 of an inch to ensure a very snug fit into the 1/4 inch groove you cut into the door frame. Also remember that the size of your panel should be about a 32nd inch smaller than the actual opening of the groove to allow for expansion and contraction. Depending on the size of your panel, you may want to allow more room for more expansion and contraction. Now do one final dry fit of the complete door before getting ready to glue and add the biscuits. Using your favorite glue and the number 11 biscuits that come along with this kit, glue up the door frame completely. Fill each biscuit slot completely with glue. When you add the biscuits, spread the excess glue on the inside edge of the miter joints using a glue brush. Remember, these biscuits will absorb the glue and swell to create a super strong joint. A great tip when gluing up a door frame, a picture frame, or any type of frame is to use some very strong tape to help you hold each corner at 90 degrees as you continually go around the frame to glue the other corners. This tape will be removed once the glue is dried or the piece is in a clamp. Once you have the first 3 sides of your frame in place, which means the first 2 corners are glued up, insert the panel and continue the procedure to glue in the 4th side of the frame. Once the glue is added, the biscuits are inserted, and the 4th side is in place, you are ready for clamping. Look how quick and easy it is to clamp this door together using the Merrill multi-corner clamp. Not only does it go together in seconds, but it applies perfectly even pressure all the way around all 4 corners to keep this frame perfectly square during the glue up process. All you have to do now is let the glue dry, and you have created a beautiful raised panel door using the MLCS mitered door frame bit and a cove raised panel bit. All the products used in creating this beautiful raised panel door are available individually and in sets from MLCS Woodworking or online at mlcswoodworking.com. And as always, shipping is free when you buy from MLCS Woodworking. Please order kit number 8362 and raised panel bit 8688.